They have a radio show on NPR. It airs on the weekends. It's really cool. People get up to tell live true stories, kind of like what you did. Only that show was drinking themed.
Right.
But like I was telling this story, and like there's one line where I'm being like super serious, and it gets this huge laugh. And in my mind, there's just like a flaming inferno of like, yeah, I want you all to die. Like, I'm pouring out my heart, and you're laughing, you sons of bitches. Like,
Grown-up, human, comic, people! Grown-up, human, comic, people!
You know what? Just this aggravates me with Grey Worm because if you know anything about the Unsullied, and you do if you watch the show or read the book, they can't feel anything.
Yeah,
you can
the
cut
point.
their nipples off, and they're just like whatever. All I do is fight.
Yeah.
So, and they say that it's show canon too.
well, it's like a Terminator 2 thing. Like, he was unfeeling, and now he feels.
No, you can't do that.
That's what they did,
You drank a
though.
bunch of purple cum or whatever
not saying
happened,
it's
and now
right,
you
I'm
can't
just
feel
saying.
anything.
It sucked in Terminator 2 also.
Wait, what? Get the fuck.
No,
I'll
a
kill
robot.
you.
A robot has no emotion. At the end of the movie, he says, "I'm sorry. Sorrow is an emotion. Sorry."
I like that though. Like,
No, you know what? I don't think that. I don't dislike that because as far as Terminator 2 goes, like because he's separated from Skynet. Like if he were still a Terminator with Skynet, he's literally just like an extension of Skynet's logic. But in order to function in the world, the robot has to be able to make decisions, and being able to make decisions means you're somewhat conscious. Like you know that like you have a desired outcome for stuff. So like regardless of how you get to your desired outcome, you have to make decisions to get there. And so it makes sense that like eventually the robot is going to make decisions because his mission is to care for John Connor and protect him. I feel like caring about something is a unavoidable result of being able to make decisions.
I also no with that.
You did
I mean,
your
you're.
best with that.
I
You
someone
really did.
Yeah, I'm a
Like
little
you did your best with that. Like that is
I don't think
fiction
that's what's
beyond
happening.
fiction that we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's not that. It's
Christ.
that particular type of Terminator has been programmed to
Blend in.
and then reciprocate what he knows.
Right.
He doesn't give a shit about John Connor.
He says he's a
computer.
learning computer. He
Right.
says that specifically. He says,
He's
I'm a
neural
learning
net
computer.
CPU, a learning computer.
Exactly. So
But
the
he-
computer learns.
He
Yeah.
learned that would get the maximum response that he wanted from John Connor because he's programmed to give that response.
Right.
And that's fine. That's okay.
Part of the mission is to make John Connor trust him also. And so to most effectively let John Connor trust him, he has to be friends with him pretty much. And also, like, we don't know exactly what John Connor of the future told him. So John Connor might have said, like, hey, I remember this Terminator being cool as fuck, and you have to do these things in order to make me like you.
Yeah. And
that's
that's
interesting.
fine. Grey Worm can't take his Fruit Loop dick and enjoy anything with that. He can't learn how to enjoy a Fruit Loop dick.
Maybe
Let's start the episode now.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Terminator discussion.
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
do
do
a Terminator special at some point.
Yeah, we'll
because
do that.
that's
I like how each time we keep trying to talk about Game of Thrones, and then we just go way off topic.
All right, so anyway, let's get started. Welcome to episode 43 of Grown-Up Human Comic People. We were just getting into some nonsense, but we're back and we're right on track. So let's go around the room. Say hello to all the humans. To my left, Carius. J-Man.
Hey.
Greg.
greetings.
Still got Minto on this episode, Derek?
Can't get rid of me.
Nor we want to. We're having such a good time.
Oh.
No, I love you so much.
It's like some Asian flu that just like there's a warning on the TV. Minto's around. Make sure that you take all the
swine
precautions.
indoors.
Lock your doors. Keep all your
In case
headphones.
Derek will come out and gnaw them and infect your pork shanks.
Make sure you have trash cans that have lids that close.
Yeah.
And lock.
Are there how inexpensive would it be to have like labels printed on a pack of mints, and you can just call them Mintos.
Oh,
And like,
All you need is a couple eyes and put them on Mentos.
yeah,
and
that's
just
all you got to
yeah.
do. You
put
get one like
an
little
eye.
baby sticker.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
commercial waiting to happen. Please
Absolutely.
do it.
Yeah. Just
yeah.
Derek doing a bunch of really fucked up shit and then popping a Minto at the end, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just do all the Mentos commercials, but we do the opposite. So, like, instead of moving the car, we move a car into a space where it's really inconvenient. Or, like we wash a bunch of windows with a power washers and just blow all the windows out, and it's not helpful to
Or
anybody.
you don't wash it, you sand it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See,
And instead of it being okay at the end, people are just more pissed off.
Yeah.
You pop the thing and you like smile at them and give them a thumbs up, and they're just like, "What the fuck, man?"
yeah.
That's the end of the commercial.
What is wrong with you?
Anyway, you can find us at grownuphumans.com, epicastnetwork.com/grownuphumans. Check out all the Epicast stuff. They do great other podcasts. Rate and review us on iTunes, Google Music, Stitcher, Libsyn, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud at Grown Up Human Comic People, and Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Grown Up Humans. Go to Southside Comics at 1931 East Carson Street. Tell Dan we said hello and get some comics from him. Check out radicaltrivia.com. Go to see some awesome trivia shows around Pittsburgh during the week. In Midnight Rose. Oh, wow. Excuse me. I don't usually burp while I'm doing this. Midnight Rose has a new album out. We got some new shit. We're going to go. We're going to open up for Amok. Greg, you want to give us the details?
Yeah, October 20th, Kativo, lower level, I believe. It's going to be like $7. 4 groups, 2 of whom are rock and 2 of whom are rap hip hop, I suppose. I've got to check that out, I guess. But yeah, should be a cool variety of stuff. We talked about it a little bit at length last episode.
Cool. Minto, tell us where you find you again.
You can find me at DerekMinto.com. You can find my Facebook page. You can I live at a house at 402 Cambox Street, Apartment 1. You can just knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and from there I'll come out.
Some people might actually show up. I hope they do.
I hope they do. I'm
would
not
love
going to
that.
answer the door. Let them be out there and be like, you guys are idiots.
So go see Derek at his house. Yeah, so we were gonna,
Throw it out there.
so Derek, actually, you just did. You were pretty much the coordinator for the Pittsburgh Comedy Festival.
Well, not so much this year. Like I was one of the people I helped like kind of found the festival.
Yeah.
And I for a while I was one of the festival directors. And this year I've taken much more we'll call it laissez-faire. I'm not doing everything approach. Like there's a lot of people who work really hard at like Aaron Tarnow, Amanda Cooper, Brian Gray. There's tons of people. And a lot of I've worked with for years, like working on the festival. It was one of those things. Like a couple years ago, about 5 years ago, we realized that the comedy scene in the city was exploding, and there was no festival. There was an alliteration of the Pittsburgh Comedy Festival that existed. A guy named Nick Milton did it one year, and then he left the next year, so no one really took up the reins and kind of ran with it. And it was one of these things where it's just like you have all this talent. Like there should be a comedy festival where we can bring in people from all over the country and showcase them for a weekend and be like, make the city more. The idea was to make the city more aware that there's people running around telling dick jokes everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, it was really crazy that you guys were there because I didn't know until like a week before.
Oh, really?
I didn't know idea. And then once I found out, like someone was like, "So you got them to come, right?" And I'm like, "No." Like, but you know, Chris and Jared, all this guy, like I'm like, "No, I had nothing to do with it. I just like no clue whatsoever."
Our audience might not know that Minto, Jared, and I all lived together in Southside
Yeah.
for a year, maybe 2. I don't know.
Year and a half, something like that.
Yeah,
Something like
something
that.
along those lines.
Which makes it even funnier that Derek had nothing to do with us being on the comedy festival at all. Like we just it showed up like. In fact, we walked into the green room and I was like, "Oh, Minto, what's up, man?" Like I didn't know. I mean, I knew you were always a part, like a big part of it, but I didn't know that you were actually going to be there.
Yeah, no,
It was really funny.
What I get to do, and this is my favorite role during the festival, is I get to be like the backstage manager.
Yeah.
Which basically means like whenever you get to see like a cool like TV show, like you see like 30 Rock or like any like behind the scenes kind of show, like Larry Sanders Show, where like they're kind of all running around up back, like trying to figure out, like I get to do that job, which basically means I get to live up my childhood dream of telling everyone where to go every 5 minutes. Like it's like that part is like super fun to me, because it's like my favorite parts. I get to host things, and so I get to go out and run around and get everyone all pumped up, and I get to make sure everyone gets on stage. So like I love it. Like it's super fun to do.
Oh, if I'm being totally honest, like I love performing, but I might like like right before and right after performing, even better. Because it's something really fun about that, where like you're crossing paths with who was on stage before you, or whoever is the act before you, whatever, and you get to talk to like the stage manager and like you just fuck around with your like whoever you're with, like you get to, if there's a green room, that's awesome. You get to chill out, like maybe have a drink or two or whatever. I always think that's a lot of fun. Like that's like it's part of the whole experience of performing and being able to do that. That's maybe I might actually like that more than the regular.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one thing too. Are comedy shows always that on point? Like that well organized? Because that was for me, I was like, wow, comedy shows are so different than rock shows. Because rock shows are like, you show up, sound guy ain't there, he's getting pizza, like all this equipment to set up. It goes on super late. Nobody knows where they are, what they're supposed to be doing. Like, it's just a fucking mess every time.
Well, no is the answer.
And we walked in, and like when we walked in there, they were like, okay, go see this person right here. This is your call time. This is where you'll be here. This is where you'll be here. Like, just every step of the way. It was like so awesome.
Well, good job.
Part of it, well, thanks. Part of it's reactionary to going to awful festivals.
Yeah.
Like, where it's like, all right, well, we sold out this one room. All right, we're just going to add on 3 more rooms to this festival. And, like, one's like an old gymnasium. The other one's like some guy's apartment. Like, just bad, like... And you don't know, no one seems like they're in charge.
Yeah, it's just completely disorganized. Just fucking, who do I talk to? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, stand-ups are relatively easy to wrangle because you usually have to deal like 5 or 6 of them. And there's plug in the microphone, make sure like the gate and everything's fine. And then like, you're cool basically. Like, make sure the audience, you can hear the audience. Because it's like that really basic thing. Like, even with like a podcast, like as long as no one thinks about it until it's wrong.
Right.
Like, until like there's some problem where it's like all of a sudden like where did that go? Or like, like that kind of thing. And so the point of the festival, or it also took us a while to get there. Like, the first year was a little more chaotic.
Sure.
But like, we've been doing it for 4 years now, and a lot of the people have stayed working on it, that we know how to make sure, because it makes you guys have a better experience.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for us if we know where people are supposed to be. And I think it just comes out as a better show.
Yeah, what's preparedness just makes everything so much easier. It's like stressful. Like, the show's probably better because the performer's not like stressed out upon coming to the stage.
Yeah.
But you guys did a really great job for that.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
No, you guys. That was awesome to have you guys.
Yeah, no, it was fun. We had a good time. Just hanging out. There weren't like a ton of people in the audience. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who came out. By the way, we had fun. It was a good time. We definitely didn't drink at all. We were there.
No.
And
not at all. No one
was,
drinks there.
Yeah,
We've
no,
never
you're not allowed to
drank.
drink.
We've never done any drugs, especially not there.
No, of course
We've never. I've never jaywalked.
When we were
personally.
when we were specifically told not to drink, so we didn't do that. It was tough to get through, with no drinks, but I think we managed to do it.
You guys did a good job.
Thanks. It was a good time. Hopefully we can come back and do it again. I had some more questions about the festival. So it was 3 or 4 days.
It was actually theoretically 5 days.
Oh.
It was Wednesday to Sunday. We had shows Wednesday through Saturday, and then Sunday there was more workshops.
Okay.
And that's like a big thing, like an improv is like you do like these like workshops to like work on different skills. Or some of them were just like writing workshops. Like, one of them was like a sketch one. Like, one of them was just like women in comedy, and they kind of talk about a bunch of like different like women's issues and stuff. I don't know exactly what a lot of them were, but and that's like, there's no real like, there's some classes that exist, but they're not good. I don't recommend just go do stand up. Don't take a class. And the only thing anyone can teach you about stand up is how to do stand up like they do it.
Right.
And like, there's basic things you can glean. But like, improv's different though, because it's just the way, the nature of which it's based, that you can derive. You need more direction, like, you can get a little more feedback. It's more theatrical, while stand-up's more based in like rhetoric.
Right.
So it's a lot more self-driven.
Right. It's always been funny to me because like, even in the comedy community, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like, it always seems like improv is looked down upon as this like just the worst.
There's
fucking
like this
people.
weird, like, it doesn't exist so much in Pittsburgh. Like, no one really cares like that much. Like, but like, when you go to other cities, you go to like New York or Chicago, like, stand-ups and improvisers do not get along.
Yeah.
Like, and if you do both, you're like fucking daywalker. Like, either side hates you. Like, they're like, what the fuck?
Why is that? I would think that everybody who's on like Saturday Night Live is like comics who are on sketch comedy.
Well, sketch is different. So you have you have improv, which is all entirely made up on the spot, self-generated. Well, sketch is kind of a combination of those two because it's acting, but you write a script and you can refine the script. Well, stand-up is, it's a singular person. I mean, there are duo acts, but I'm not going to go into that. I'll go off on a long swearing tangent, like Chris did in that one episode, which I listened to and I heard terrible things come out of your mouth. Okay, I didn't listen to that episode. You just told me about this.
Every episode, yeah. So you listen to all of our episodes.
All of your episodes. But it's just one of those. Improv because it's a kind of a group sport. It's kind of the best way to explain it is you have to act as a group, so you have to share the stage with one another, and so it oftentimes comes a lot more positive reinforcement from people who are part of your team. Usually, a lot of people who do improv are usually I've found more well-adjusted,
right?
Or they're a little more together. I feel in their life. Well, stand-ups are kind of are a little shittier. Like, I don't know. I mean, all the stand-ups I know, there's something wrong with them. Like, I've never met a stand-up, and if I don't know what's wrong with them, I just know I can't see what it is.
Right.
Like, because there's something weird that makes you want to do stand-up. Like, there's some kind of weird thing there's some weird personality trait that drives you towards that.
Yeah.
Improv, it's a lot more like there's a lot more positivity that goes with it, which is great, but like Sam's a lot more cynical.
Right. Well, honestly, sometimes I think like what obviously we're not doing improv here, but like for example, like we had an unexpected circumstance at the comedy festival, and so we kind of had to just start talking. And it's like I'm not saying that's improv, but it's like I know what you're trying to get at. It's like if you have 4 or 5 people who are with you, and you can just kind of like say something that you might think is funny, and then hopefully someone else will pick it up for you. And you can all, as a team, it's like a relay race. You know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in any podcast, like especially if you're a group of 5, there's 5 of us sitting here.
Yeah.
That we're using a lot of basic improv principles. You're listening to each other and you're adding on to what the other person says. That's basic improv. Like,
right.
It's just listening and talking, really.
Right.
Like all day long, you improvise. Little trade secret.
It seems to me that like the comedians might look down upon the improv as lesser because. Like stand-up takes, it's like you have to go out there by yourself with whatever you've written and just, that's it. Like it's you standing by yourself. And I can understand how like maybe they might be like, oh, fucking improvers. They got like 5 backup motherfuckers there. That's not risky.
Yeah.
And they don't prepare for it at all. Like I have to.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They both want this. I think they both kind of want the same things. They want to make people laugh. They want this, they want that. But there's just kind of a culture. Stand-ups oftentimes will shit on improv, but I've also heard tons and tons of improvisers do the same thing. Like it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it was I can't remember who it was. Somebody at the after party said that you can tell at the party who's in an improv group and who's a comic because the people in improv groups like to drink and dance, whereas the comics like to drink and complain. So,
that is really accurate statement.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
There were a few times whenever we would be hanging out at our house when we lived in the South Side, and there's a couple times when I think like a bunch of comedians come over after a show or something, and I read that the Comedy Bible, that book.
Yeah,
you definitely read it before.
Yeah,
and she says at one point like I thought it would be a good idea to get a bunch of comedians for dinner or something, and she's like, this was terrible. Everyone was either depressed or silent or something, and like that didn't happen that much with like hanging out at the house, but sometimes it'd be like, man. This is kind of dark.
Yeah. But what's funny is if you get all just comics together, just comics like at a party, then it becomes fun again. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like
I've done a lot of this stuff. I've done improv. I tried stand up and failed miserably, and I think and I've done a lot of music too. And
because you only fail miserably if you stop.
No, I just. Well, here's the thing. I did, and I did a stint for you last year where we did the drinking.
Storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, I did the storytelling where I ignored all of your instructions. All of them.
You did.
You gave me a very specific list of things to not do and to do, and I was like, okay, well, and I'm just gonna do what I do. to middling success. I had a couple of laughs, mostly from Derek, but
it was a fun story.
It was all right. Yeah, it's too long. It's like a 55-minute story that I condensed down to 20 minutes, and you told me I had 5.
Yeah.
What story did you tell?
No, don't. No. Moving on.
No.
Moving on. That's for another time. But I'll tell you what one of the biggest differences that I've experienced, and that I think this is true, but I've never said this to anybody before, is when it comes to comedy versus music. I can play music for myself and enjoy it. So if the audience isn't reacting, I like the music that I play. I can sit there and I can be like, man, I got a groove going, and I can look up and be like, all right, nobody's into this, but this is some of the best stuff I've ever done, so I'm totally into this. Whereas with comedy, I can never do that. If nobody's reacting to it, if I'm not getting a response or laughter, it actually hurts. If I think it's funny and I'm just like, no, apparently this is not, because music is something that I think is that you do for yourself first, for people second, whereas comedy is for people first, yourself second.
I disagree with that. I think that comedy can be like, it's almost like therapy for a lot of people.
It can be. There's a lot of different reasons why people do it. It's been therapy for me. You just can't be your only form of therapy.
No, not at all.
Sometimes you should actually go to therapy.
Yeah, like sometimes you're just like, it's fine to use it. It's not, honestly, there's people who come out and they just go to open mics and they kind of bitch about stuff, and that works for them.
Right.
It's usually not funny.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, people can get a lot out of it. It's really weird.
It is. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird social contract that you make with people. Like, what you're doing is inherently weird. Most people don't want to be laughed at. And, like, you're trying to derive this response out of people.
Yeah.
This really weird, like, kind of social thing. And it's odd.
It's weird to be told you're funny, too.
Yeah.
It's a strange concept to realize that you're funny. And over the years, I've been told multiple times, like, you're really funny, and sometimes that hurts because you're not even trying to be funny. You're just like,
that's the problem that I've kind of later in my life, is when I know exactly what you mean. Where, like, I had jobs where I didn't want to be. I just wanted to go to work.
right?
And they're like, "Oh man, this crazy jackass over here is jokey joke guy," and I'm like, "I don't want to be funny here though."
I wasn't joking, actually.
Yeah, or I wasn't
yeah.
joking. Like, I did a Moth Story Slam. The Moth is like a storytelling organization. They have a radio show on NPR. It airs on the weekends. It's really cool. People get up to tell live true stories, kind of like what you did. Only that show was drinking themed.
Right.
But like, I was telling this story, and like, there's one line where I'm being like super serious, and it gets this huge laugh. And in my mind, there's just like a flaming inferno of like, "Yeah, I want you all to die!" Like, I'm pouring out my heart, and you're laughing, you sons of bitches. Like,
What recently this happened to me at work, where you actually worked at Citizens before
Yeah.
I did, and my boss actually remembered you.
oh,
And yeah, he was like, he trained you. I'm not going to name any names or anything here because he wouldn't want to be named on something like
Okay.
this. But I have health issues. It's not a surprise for anybody ever. And I had to call off work one day. And then the next day I was going into work, but I just happened to be late. And I texted him and I said, "Hey, coming into work today, I just didn't want you to know that I was laying in a ditch somewhere in case you didn't see me." I didn't mean that to be funny. And honestly, it's not really funny.
it's kind of funny.
I guess. To get that in like a text at work, it's work funny, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's
Well, that's a different kind of funny.
it is.
Like
It's
stuff
a
at work that is, like that isn't funny at all. Some people are like, "Oh, this guy here is just he's hilarious." Like,
Yeah.
no, you're boring.
But
That's the problem.
But I guess in a work scenario, and like, he came up to me and he was like, "Dude, I couldn't stop laughing at that text. Like, you should really be a stand-up comedian." And I'm like, "I just didn't want you to think that I was dead. Like, that's all. I didn't want to be funny there. I just wanted you to know that I'm not laying in a ditch somewhere, which could potentially happen.
Also,
at any given
that's
point.
like a thing people say. That's like a cliche.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
That's not like a thing you made up.
No,
Like, that's
not
just
at-
a phrase that people
not at
say
all.
sometimes.
And yeah, I get stuff like that all the time where they're like, "Yeah, you're hilarious," and I'm like, "No, please."
That's like someone saying. And then this guy said to me, he came up to me behind me and he said, "Are you working hard or hardly working?" And I just couldn't even contain myself. It was so funny.
And then everyone sat back and laughed. They're like, "Oh, Tuesdays, huh? Oh,
Yeah, that sounds like that kind of guy.
Work up an entire routine just full of cliches. Don't say anything that's not a cliche. See how well it goes.
That's some Andy Kaufman shit.
Your luck, it'll be great. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I just realized, I don't know if this game came out like 5-6 years ago. I had it on my Xbox forever, and I finally got around to finishing and beating it over the weekend. It's a Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Oh, hell yeah.
Incredible.
But I didn't realize till about halfway through the game that every single cutscene, every single line of dialogue is a cliche.
Yeah,
every single line is a cliche. And like once I realized it, it blew my mind.
Spoken by Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So good.
So good.
Who must have loved that script whenever?
Oh, he probably, man, yeah. Just to agree to do that, and like read the script and agree to do it, he like Michael Bihn's got to be cool as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He self-aware and cool as fuck. Let's go into Redlands because we haven't gotten there yet, and we talked about it last episode, and so I'm sure that everyone who has listened to the previous episode is chomping at the bit to hear about this shit. Mm-hmm. So, does anybody? I can do this unless somebody else wants to do it.
You got it in your hand. You're ready to go. Do it.
All right. So this is Redlands. It is an image book. It is by Jordi Belair and Vanessa Del Rey with Clayton Cowles. Jordi Belair is the writer and the color artist, which is interesting because she is usually the artist of she's usually just the artist. So I think this might be the first book that she's actually written. And Vanessa Del Rey is the artist, and then Clayton Cowles done the letterer and the production. And the logo is by Phonographics, which we've done a bunch of books that have that Phonographics. I don't even know if that's a single person or if it's like a company or something. I don't know. In fact, I'd love to ask someone in the industry if they know Phonographics because I don't know what that means. Kind of like what's the other one? It's like it's an exclamation point. We've you know what I'm talking about? There's another person who does letters. I think it's lettering. It's crank. Is it crank? Or something like that.
I'm aware of what exclamation points are. That's about it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So anyway,
I don't know.
You're funny. You should do stand up. That was really good. That was real good.
very good, very good. So this book starts off in it says in Redlands, Florida, 1977, and it's outside of a police station with a tree that's engulfed in flames. And to kind of briefly sum it up, it seems like there's a bunch of dickhead police officers who have done something fucked up and are now paying for it. They're trapped inside this police station by we don't know what, and they're all freaking out. And they see a little girl outside, and one of the police, the chief says, "Okay, go, someone go get her." And this guy goes out, tries to get her, and brings her inside. But as he's still standing on the porch, his head is blown off by a gust of wind or something. I don't know. Anyway, and there are a lot of people in the jail downstairs who we don't know why they're in jail, and it's pretty much the middle of a siege of a police station in a small town by supernatural forces, and we don't exactly know why. And they keep talking about these bitches, quote unquote bitches, who essentially trick the police chief, who seems to be a humongous asshole, like a gaping humongous asshole.
Yeah, he seems like a combination of like every dickhead cop ever created.
Yeah. And so they trick him into murdering his son, and then these three witches appear before him, and they were like, "Well, dude, you brought this upon yourself, and fuck you." And it's this almost seems like the interlude to it's when I put this down, I thought to myself, like, that seems like the sequence right before the title of a show or a movie, like the first few minutes of just the opening, which is great. Like this grabbed me. I'm like, okay, I'm down with this. Like, that's fucking awesome. That sounds cool. And there's this little author's note at the end, and Dan talked about this last episode, but it's pretty much saying, like, hey, you rebellious people out there, or people who feel like they're lost or they're, on the outskirts of society or something. This book is for you, and it should offer respite and serve as an emotional occult heavy buffet that delivers the fun, the craze, the demonic, the sexy, the heartbroken, and the human. Join us and bring your love of the ambiguous and the strange. You have many monsters and lovers to meet before it's over. It's pretty cool. It's just like, welcome to this book. It's for anybody who's ever felt like they're outcasts. And I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really good introduction to whatever this story is going to be. I'm very interested to read the rest of it. What do you guys think?
The artwork was good. I really liked the artwork.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it a lot. So it felt like there was closure to this, but it's actually the start of a bigger story.
Yeah.
And I am very interested in where they take this, because obviously they allude, even with what you just stated there, with like just the author's note at the end, that there's going to be a lot more going on with this, and they don't delve a whole lot into the story as far as the grand scheme of things go. This could be contained as an enjoyable comic that you can just read and like, okay, that's fine. So I am interested where they take this story beyond that. I am a little worried that I don't know where it's going. So I guess a little worried. Where are you going to take this? Where is it going to go? Because normally I'm that person that I'm thinking like, okay, it could go here, here, and here. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that actually intrigues me more. Like, I don't fucking know.
Right. It's not telegraphing the trajectory of the book. Like, because it could go. Are we going to learn about the events that led up to this, or are we going to just go forward from this and like this is the base for
exactly
whatever the story is? Yeah.
They didn't honey dick me at all.
Right.
No, I mean, the thing that I really liked about it, and I always like when, especially in comics, is they just start with they start in the middle of something, and I really actually like the fact that like they didn't spend a lot of time like trying to give you context to a lot of this. They let you kind of build it on your own.
Yeah.
And like at first it's kind of confused. Like, what the crap is going on? Why is this tree on fire? These bitches did it.
Yeah.
Bitches are lighting trees on fire. That's crazy. And then the wind murders a dude. And frankly, I'm not gonna lie. I think he had it coming. But I'm not 100% sure, which made it even more interesting. And then there's all these people locked up in the basement, and they're calling these guys a bunch of douchebags.
Yeah.
And like this, like police chief is this is the thing. You deal with this police chief a lot, like throughout the beginning of this, and he's kind of almost written so dumbly mean that he almost seems inhumanly dumb.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say that I've met people that are absolutely that dumb, and they're more common than people who are intelligent.
You're probably right. That being said, like the way that all of it plays out, like I want to know more. Like,
yeah.
And I would imagine that there, at some point, there would be more content. Like, if there was a second or third one, it might not even be like, it might be like later in this series, you might find out like why this kind of happened. I mean, it's set in Redlands, right?
Yeah.
And so it'd be weird if they left the town that they were cleansing or whatever it exactly they're doing. That's a little unclear, which is also interesting. You're like, there has to be a blood sacrifice. There's these ladies, and everyone else is covered with blood and shit and piss and vomit, and they got like snazzy outfits on.
They kind of
like,
do, yeah.
They look kind of. They're like, we got it going on.
Yeah, they show up at the end, and you're like, oh, they're like well dressed, and they look kind of stylish. And isn't one of their arms in a sling?
I
I think the blonde chick's
okay.
arm is in a sling. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is another thing. It's like, okay, so they can be hurt, apparently.
Yeah.
So these guys just don't know how to do that. Also, I forgot it was in Florida, so like this is actually, none of this should be surprising to any of us.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course
So,
it's happened in Florida.
Yeah, this is pretty regular run-of-the-mill stuff for Florida. But,
I've never been there. I don't know.
yeah, you don't have to.
Oh, you don't have to go.
You don't have to go.
okay.
Yeah.
Just,
Have you ever read any crazy news story? Happened in Florida.
Oh, that is a Disney World down there. That's pretty weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, have you met anybody who has worked for Disney, like as a representative of Disney?
Actually, no, but I have heard that you have to like brainwash yourself in order to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. It's very disturbing. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this fucking police chief guy for a second? Because like as you were saying that, like I was thinking to myself, you're right. It's like who is faced with like a supernatural flaming tree outside their fucking where they work, and is still being a dickhead.
Like, he's trying to... the very first thing he does, he hits some guy in the face with a rifle.
Yeah, his son.
Yeah, his son. Like, I mean, and this is the thing. Maybe once you found out more, you would know, like, why maybe he used to be really nice, and then these bitches got him all riled up. Like, I don't know.
I wish that I didn't have the life experience to be okay with that character. Because
right.
I thought to initially when you said that, I was like, yeah, you know what? He is kind of like a dickhead for no reason. And then I realized, like, but I just had to deal like this week with 3 people who are dickheads for no reason. So actually, it's totally realistic. Like,
I guess it probably is. Yeah, some people do really get off more out of that.
Well, some people just like they have such like an inferiority complex or something or whatever it is that like makes them unable to just admit that they're fucking wrong. You know, like just to be like, hey guys, sorry about that. I don't know. I got amped up and I was being a dick. I'm really sorry. Like a lot of people can't do that, and I think that's exactly what they're. I now that I think more and more about it, as we talk about this, that's pretty realistic to me.
About 5 years ago, when I first started at the bank I work for, I started into just the minimal. I just accepted that job because I needed benefits, making minimum wage at a call center representative. And I had a guy call in, and I will never forget this. And he was complaining about interest rates. And he said, my checking account doesn't get any. He had like $30 in his checking account. He said, my checking account doesn't get any interest. And I said, yeah, it's an interest-free checking. It's a free account. Yep. He said, yeah, my savings account doesn't get any interest. He had no money in his savings account. And I said, okay, yeah, you don't have any money in your savings account. I mean, if you give us money, we might give you an interest rate, but you can't have $0 in a savings account and expect to make interest. That's just not how anything works.
Right.
Anything. And he went on to say, I was in the bank, and when I was in the bank in your local branch earlier, I saw a teller give a child a lollipop. Okay.
Go on.
He said, how can you afford to give lollipops to children and not interest rates on checking and savings accounts? This man actually wanted to take candy from a baby in order for banks to give better interest rates.
Oh, my God.
And anytime anybody thinks about something like this, like how this deplorable human being, how can this person be like this? I always think back to that gentleman who called in, who spent time, who at 12:45 in the afternoon on a Tuesday took time out of his day with $30 in his account to complain about interest rates and how to rectify that situation by stopping giving candy to babies.
I just thought of that line in The Big Lebowski where he's like, "Is this how you go out looking for a job, sir, on a weekday, dressed like this?"
Did it? I mean, I guess that my reaction maybe would be because I think anything. Okay, if I were on the receiving end of that phone call, looking at the transcript of it, there's no boss that would ever fault me for any response, sarcastic or not, that I could give to this guy. So the first thing that comes to my mind, and I can think of no reason to not say this, is like, I'm sorry, sir. If you come in, would you like to have a lollipop? Just maybe that's what he's missing.
Even more diplomatically, sir, the lollipops are for everyone.
Yeah, there you go.
My actual response was very similar to that. It was, sir, there is a separate fund for the lollipops that we don't take into consideration for the interest given on accounts.
Unnecessarily specific, but I mean that's. I mean, not shouldn't say that. That's a more complete answer than I would even think was. I wouldn't think to even go that correct with it.
Yeah.
Can I ask? Were you sure that you know how the lollipops are financed?
I actually do.
Oh, that was good. I would have just been like, "Oh no, those are private lollipops. Those are government. That's the government brings them in. We don't have anything to do with that. So eat a bag of those."
I don't think most people don't realize this. Every bank has a lollipop fund. Like there's,
really?
you have to have money for lollipops that they give the kids in the branches.
Wow, dude, I just didn't think of that until just now. Like, dude, my bank has lollipops.
Yeah.
They
Holy
always
shit,
do.
Or hard candy.
it does.
Or hard candy.
I see them there every time. I'm like, dude, can I take one of these? Or like, are they
You
for?
can. They're
just
for
kids?
everybody.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
they
for
let you-
everybody. Oh, I'm definitely taking some.
I always
So-
get one. I mean, you may as well.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Going to the bank usually sucks.
Dude, my bank
I
definitely has
also
lollipops.
does safety pop still exist with the round, like how you can stick your finger
Yeah.
through The lollipop.
I haven't
and
seen him in a while, but
do they still exist though? I haven't seen one in years.
I haven't
with that little rope. He's talking about that. Fucking
Yeah.
rope.
Oh,
The safety pop.
I didn't know that was a safety pop.
It took, me, it took me a second. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking
I
about?"
just thought that was like an old timey, like just like we didn't have enough money to make a stick, kind of.
Well, but that's more. It's more material than a stick, though.
I guess so. I don't.
No,
I thought maybe it was cheaper material. I
No,
don't know.
it's a safety pop. It's for like to give small children.
I never
Right, so
realized
they put their
that.
finger in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. Huh. I haven't thought about that at all in years.
Is it a ring pop? Is that what I'm thinking of?
No.
no. It's like
That's
you
what I
have
thought he
kind of
meant
like
first, too.
it looks like almost like a little hockey puck, and then there's like a loop of like rather than being a stiff cardboard, it's like a U of cardboard, and the two tips are in this like hockey puck of sugar, and it kind of loops down into this kind of like almost looks
It's like a little rope.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
like
it's,
a twist-
it's
like
so
a twisted-
kids can't stab themselves in the eye with the other half of the lollipop because apparently that's a thing.
I thought. I thought
that
it
was
was so
choking.
That's choking. Yeah. What are you talking about? Stabbing?
Yeah, stabbing themselves in the chest. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
Listen, which
Jesus
one of us?
Christ,
Which
it's
one
not.
of us started this story?
I may have forgotten about these things, but you're wrong about this.
Not at all.
So they because kids are running around stabbing each other in the eyes with lollipop sticks.
The '90s were a very violent time.
Yeah, man.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, you could throw a non-safety pop. You can throw a lollipop on stage and it can hit David Bowie in the eye and get stuck. That has
It
happened.
did happen. Yeah, if
Yeah.
those are safety pops, it would have been okay.
That is
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah.
That happened for real.
That is so crazy that happened.
Man.
Did it? Did that happen? Really?
That did really happen.
That's so.
Did it just stick like
that's
under
the
his
most Bowie
eye?
thing I've heard.
Yeah, it must have. I mean, it didn't go into his eyeball. It
Right.
went, I guess, like to the side of his eye into the.
Yeah, you can watch it. There's a video of it.
Oh, cool.
I mean, tell you, like probably millimeters away from losing an eyeball.
Yeah, he's like motherfucker.
Yeah, that's, I saw it's a disgusting picture. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just him standing there. It must have been like right after it happened. He just has a lollipop sticking out of his eye.
Ugh, Jesus.
And I think he like went off stage and came back a few minutes later and said like made some joke about it and then went on.
You pull it out
Which
immediately.
which is a professional ass thing to do, by
Yeah.
the way. Like because the dude from Nickelback got hit with a bottle or whatever and just like walked off stage.
Someone throws one more thing, we're quitting this show. And then like 25,000 things. All right, we're out. F you, Brazil. Like,
yeah, that's a great video.
I was like, good job, Brazil.
Yeah.
Killing it.
have you guys heard Pants Feet, by the way?
What?
Pants Feet?
Pants feet.
Okay, just I'll show you later. It's amazing. If you're listening, look up Pants Feet. It's I think it's by DJ Cummerbund. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's a
Everything
remix.
you just said doesn't sound like real stuff.
It's a remix of this guy took like I guess the Nickelback song is like I like your pants around your feet. Yeah. But it's just taking that one line and auto tuning it so he makes a whole song out of it and like switching the words around, like changing the pitches and stuff. It's amazing. I'll show you later. Anyway, so Redlands.
But I mean, the thing, I really liked it. Like, I want to read more.
Yeah.
Like, from, like, reading it. Like, it compelled me enough that I thought about the character. Like, it didn't give her a great... It didn't seem like it was necessarily the best... I don't know what the hell... I don't know if these crazy bitches are the right main characters. I don't know if the people in the basement are. I don't know if the police officer... But I also kind of like that. Like, it kind of left it open.
Yeah.
Like, that the story can go a lot of different places. Maybe what this story is or what the arc is really more about the town and the people and less so much about, like, the characters of the town. Like,
Sure. I think the highest praise I can give to it is that it seems like a trailer for a series, which is, I mean, the whole purpose of a trailer is to make you interested, and it certainly made me interested. So I like that.
I also I like the witches. I do.
Yeah.
Do they actually specifically state that they're witches, or are we just insinuating
I don't know.
happens?
Did they
I don't
say?
ever remember. I'm trying to think back, and I didn't see.
I don't
anywhere.
remember them being called witches, but they
No.
do say the word bitches about 1,100 times.
Oh yeah.
They do.
Like, they're...
So-
okay.
I'm just wondering if we're just led to believe they're witches, and maybe something else is
I
going
don't
on.
get
too.
the impression that they're witches,
I
but...
they definitely have powers
They
Right.
they definitely got some cool ass powers
because they
but-
just appear.
yeah, maybe they're like demons or something. Though. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Well,
They
the,
do make mention of demons.
Yeah, they do.
well,
make mention.
the little girl that goes into the thing is definitely a demon. 'Cause,
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
she
we can
turns
see their
into a
fucking-
demon with horns. Yeah,
Yeah, that part was awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's actually what made me pause. Like, are these actually witches? Is something else going on here? That's what I really like about this, is that while it is well defined and you can just read this and not read anymore, they raise enough questions where I'm like, well, what actually is going on here? What And then they say in the end there, there's going to be weird beasts, demons, other things that come up. I like the seeds they're planting for what they're doing with this, and I think it's definitely worth reading on. I also they give a preview of the cover of the next one with the dead deer in the back of it. It looks real fucking sweet.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
Yeah, and the art. We'll go back to that for a second. I think it's really
it is.
Great.
It's good.
Yeah, I think the art really fits the style and the tone. Sometimes every once in a while you're like, I don't know why this artist is drawing this comic book.
Yeah,
there's definitely sometimes especially bigger, more mainstream things. I've definitely seen Spider-Man comic books where I'm like, you're not the right guy, I think here.
Yeah,
the tone doesn't match, but here it all melds together really well. And it's just every panel is totally worth spend that extra time just kind of looking through it, looking over the details, and appreciating it.
I'm always drawn to like this where there's so much black involved. Because if you're sitting there drawing, everyone's doodled before, in a notebook or something. Whenever I always have questions for the artist where it's did you start with a black palette, like Batman the Animated Series, where it's the base is black and then you just add detail over top the black, or did you actually black out a white piece of paper and then add the details? I'd be really interested to talk to the artist about that. But yeah, I think this is really, really, really cool. And all just the color palettes on each page, they really match. When they're upstairs, it's kind of like a reflection of fire, all the colors as if they're all being reflected upon by fire. There's no lights. And then downstairs, it's kind of like a green until the lights go off. Yeah. And
even the way the panel arrangement's really well done, all the sounds, the way some of them pop, and it's just very enjoyable.
And I'm never confused about what's going on, which is really a thing to say, because a lot of times I'm reading something I don't know exactly where people are oriented in the scene or whatever, but I always know exactly where the characters are throughout the whole thing. So would you read more? I'll go, Chris.
Why, yes, I would.
J-Man.
Yeah.
Greg.
I would. Yeah.
Minto.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I plan on it. So yeah, Redlands, Jordy Buller, Vanessa Del Rey, Clayton Coles. Good job. We will read more of your shit. I think that's probably good. We're finish this episode up. We all have to have things to do today, so let's go over where you can find us. GrownUpHumans.com, epicastnetwork.com/GrownUpHumans, iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, YouTube at GrownUpHuman Comic People, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram at GrownUpHumans. Derek, tell us where you can find you.
DerekMinto.com, my house, 402 Cambuck Street, apartment 1. Hit the lower button, ring that bell. Then if I'm not there or I don't want to answer the door, you look behind the dumpster at Ham Bones, where I will be eating ham bones. Did that hurt you? Did that hurt you a little bit?
No, I was ready for it this time.
I've built a tolerance to it now. Yeah, a callus. I'm good. I was braced myself.
Good.
Thanks for coming on. It was fun.
Absolutely. It was a blast.
Yeah. All right. That's the end of the show. Did I go around and say
no?
Okay. I'm a little drunk now. Everybody say goodbye. Chris.
Generic fart noise.
J-Man.
See ya.
Greg.
Till next time.
Derek. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening, and good evening.
Grownup!